Good afternoon, all, and welcome back to the Kieran Clavin Racing Show. This episode covering day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival and my early look at that before final declarations next Tuesday. Plenty to get stuck through, so we'll fire through them. Starting with the Mares Novice Hurdle. Now, this race is kind of up in the air at the present juncture because Old School Outlaw, who's currently second favourite, potentially could be going to Fairyhouse. But the betting as it stands at the moment, you've got Bambino Fever 4 to 5, Old School Outlaw 4 to 1, Salmi Davari at 6 to 1, Equine Silence, Caramel Spruce, and Monge 2 all at 10 to 1, and it's 14 to 1 bar. Bambino Fever obviously won the champion bumper last year. Was second on debut at Nice behind Old School Outlaw before winning a nice easy race over at Fairyhouse at 1 to 10. She has been well back to the last few days because obviously Old School Outlaw, who's 2 from 2 over hurdles and now owned obviously by JP McManus, is in here at second favourite. Won at Nice and then won the Solarina at Fairyhouse. But the talk has been that she may go back to Fairyhouse for the Grade 1 over Easter and not take up this engagement, which obviously will give Bambino Fever and make this a lot easier for her. Obviously, the next in the betting, Samuel Davari was second to Narciso Haas at the DRF. She could potentially go to the Triumph as well, so that leaves even more space for Bambino Fever, who could potentially turn into the Irish banker of the week. Equine Silence was a decent winner for Henry de Bromhead at Cork and then won a listed race at Punchestown. Both of those races have been over 2.5 miles, so that's a drop in trip, but I know there's been plenty of interest for her. Caramel Spruce, winner at Listowel, second in the Down Royal, and then was also second at Christmas in the Grade 1 behind Skylight Hustle. Obviously would likely have been third had Talk the Talk stood up, but he was second. She was second that day, and then Monge 2, winner at Down Royal, and Fairyhouse will finish in third at the DRF. Again, another. I think she might be staying at home for a race at Fairyhouse later on in the season. So overall, this looks like it could be Bambino Fever's to lose. She's 4 to 5 currently. If the second and third, if Old School Outlaw and Samuel Davari don't turn out, what price she's going to be? She's going to be probably a 1 to 2 shot. A horse I will mention that I potentially could put up each way is Kingston Queen. I've liked this horse a lot. Was a decent, very good winner on debut at Chepstow, beating Cryptic Jim 9 lengths. That horse has come out and won a graded race since, and is well touted for the Albert Bartlett by a few people. Then went to Cheltenham and finished third behind Old Park Star, who obviously is favourite for the Supreme. And then last time out, won the Jane Seymour at Warwick very comfortably. The 3rd, the 7th, and the 8th have all come out and won that from that race since. So that form looks fairly strong at 16 to 1. If she takes her chance, I'll probably be backing her each way rather than getting stuck into the short prices on Bambino Fever. The Jack Richards Novices Chase is handicap chase is the next race to feature over 2.5 miles. Cocktail Divan 9 to 2 favourite. Meet by the Sea 11 to 2. Regent Stroll 6s. Slade Steel 8s. 6 Mile Bridge 9s, and then Jordan's Cross 10s. It's 11 to 1 bar those. Cocktail Divan off 150. Obviously second to Romeo Coolio at Down Royal. Then second to Oscar's Brother over 3 miles at Punchestown before dropping back to 2.5 and winning very convincingly at Leopardstown over Christmas, beating Kiss Will. Given a mark of just 150 by the British handicapper, which makes me think that they're going to come this way. And a lot of people have got involved, hence why he's so short in the bet now at 9 to 2. Henry de Bromhead was chatted to, and they did potentially he could go for the Brown Advisory still, depending on the ground. Obviously, if it's decent ground, they may go that way. We shall see what happens, but wouldn't be tempted to get involved at 9 to 2 currently. Meet Me by the Sea is next in off 139 for Ben Paulin and JP McManus. Won really convincingly at Wetherby and Ayr before having a what should we say, a jog round in the game spirit to get his third run in. Harry Cobden took the ride that day. Likely to think that he's going to take the ride again in this race. Although it would be interesting to see if he does get off Regent Stroll to ride this one for JP McManus. But yeah, Meeting by the Sea was definitely just out for the jog at Newbury to get his third run in. Looks very interesting on his hurdles mark, and off 139 definitely wouldn't put anybody off that. Regent Stroll off 145. Third to Wendigo in the John Frankham, went an absolute million from the front. I'm quite surprised he stayed. He's still staying at 2.5 miles, to be honest. If he's anything runs like that, surely he won't get home over 2.5 miles, but we shall see. Was better when obviously he won a match at Wincanton, beating Jericho de Repene. Obviously Jericho de Repene was out for the jog that day in his quest to win the Kim Muir. And then Regent Stroll was second at Cheltenham behind Miami Magic, who's since come out and won again at Kempton, and Carl Envol, who was third that day, has also won at Kempton as well recently. So that form looks fairly strong. Has course and distance form that race, so potentially Regent Stroll is a decent mark off 145. Like I said, the question is, does Harry Cobden stay on board, or does he get off and go and ride Meeting by the Sea? That will be very telling in regards to that. But Paul Nicholls is very bullish about Regent Stroll, and obviously they won this race last year with Coldwell Potter. Next in, Slade Steele off 146, won the Supreme 2 years ago. Finished second twice last season in 2 chase events. Was then come back this season with second to Predators Gold at Naas, for being brought down at Punchestown when seemingly going well, and then behind Argento Boy, who won that day, and then was second to Joystick over 3 miles. Didn't stay that day. Could potentially drop back, although like I said, Henry has already got Cocktail Divan in here, so potential to see if he will run both, or whether Slade Steele will go elsewhere or Cocktail Divan will go elsewhere. We shall wait until final declarations. Next in is my anti-post selection, 6 Mile Bridge, 12 to 1 I put him up at. He's now best price 9 to 1. Has done nothing wrong this season of fences. Won well at Ayr in a 3-runner race. Did it very nicely over course and distance. Cup 2 starts ago, beating Carla Envol, who obviously, like I said, has gone on and won at Kempton since. And then won the Scilly Isles last time, beating Carla Conti. Miami Magic was back in third. He's come out and won since, again at Kempton. And then obviously Kitzbühel was brought down in that race. 6 Mile Bridge has done nothing wrong at all in his career. The only minus point I've got here, now I've backed him at 12 to 1, and obviously being backed well back, his only 2 defeats in his career are at the Cheltenham Festival. He was 8th in the Champion Bumper, and he was ninth last year in the Turners. So potentially third time lucky for him I'm hoping so, in the Jack Richards. He is my selection. I would definitely will be changing him for any of the others. The one other that I will mention potentially could come for some money late on from myself is Jordan's Cross, who won at Aintree on debut and then fell and fall when going well at Cheltenham in November, and then came back to win at Doncaster before winning really nicely on Trials Day. I think this horse is potentially off 140, could potentially be handicapped. And if 6 Mile Bridge was to go to the Browns, which he's still entered for, then Jordan's Cross will be my selection for the race. But I'm still happy with my 12 to 1 on 6 Mile Bridge. We then move over to the Mares Hurdle, where this is an absolute mess. And like the next 2 races are next 2 because the stayers in between. But this and the Ryanair are absolute messes of races, to be honest. Like, you got Wadu 10 to 11, Lossiemouth 11 to 10, Brighter Days Ahead 2 to 1, likely to go to the Champion Hurdle, Jade de Grugy 4 to 1, Feet of a Dancer 9 to 1. Like Wadu, she's in here and she's in the stayers. She's likely to come here, I would have thought, though. One at Ascot and one at Leopardstown so far this season, beating Feet of a Dancer at Leopardstown. Lossiemouth has won Morgiana and won at Christmas before being beaten at the DRF by Bright Days Ahead, who is obviously got beat at Christmas and then reversed the form at the DRF with Lossiemouth. Jade de Grugy's been chasing, finished third, second, and then won an egg and spoon race over fences. She's coming back. If she comes back of hurdles, obviously second in this race last year to Lossiemouth. Potentially that is if Lossiemouth goes to the champion hurdle. Surely they won't run both of them in this. And then there's Feet of a Dancer, who won a listed event at Punchestown and then was second to Wadu at Leopardstown before winning the race at Doncaster. Like, this race is absolutely... It all depends who turns up, doesn't it? If Lossiemouth goes to the champion hurdle, then what price is Wadu going to be? 1 to 2? 4 to 9? Something like that. Brighter Days Ahead isn't going to run here. She's going to go for the champion. Jade de Grugy's got no form, but then comes back to going back hurdling. She was second last time. Probably at this juncture, if I was going to have a bet, like Feet of a Dancer, is she going to come here? I assume so. She's in the Stayers and she's in the Coral Cup for mark of 143. She's probably the each way bet at present in this race, because I think she finished third to Lossiemouth and Wadu if they both ran, or finished second to one of them two. So she's probably the each way bet at the moment. But you don't even know if she's going to come here, whether she will. It's just an absolute mess for a race. Wait till declarations before getting involved for definite. We then move on to the Stayers Hurdle. Now no longer the feature on day 3. The Ryanair is now the feature. But this looks a very good racing prospect with Tehupu at the top of the betting at 9 to 4. Honestly Policy 9 to 2. Cabral de Matan 5 to 1. Bob Olinger reigning champion at 6s. Milestone 2 at 8s, and then 12 to 1 bar. Tehupu second in the race last year, no question, and obviously won the race the year before. Won the Hatton's Grace, beating Ballyburn at the start of the season, and then went unusually to Leopardstown for the first time over Christmas and was very impressive that day, beating Bob Olinger, who obviously was out for the run. By the looks of it, finished, did all his well-eat work at the end to finish second. Tehupu is interesting, but is he getting a bit long in the tooth now? He definitely still sets the standard for me, but is he? I just never have taken to him whether he's good enough or not to be winning this again, or is there another young up and comer that's going to take him? Just depends how the race goes. If they go a good gallop all the way around, then it potentially could set it up for him. But if they go slow, then potentially he could be done for speed at the end. So I'm not willing to get involved with him at 9 to 4. Honesty Policy, just the one run this season, went third in the long walk behind Imposed Trois. Just not sure, to be honest. Obviously decent form last year. Second to Jasmine DeVoe at Punchestown. Won the Grade 1 at Aintree. Very decent form, but you just don't know, do you? Because he's only been seen once this season. They're doing a bit of a Tehupu with him, and he's only ran once, and then going to go from there. But if you're on at decent prices, which I know some people are, then I wouldn't put you off. But I couldn't be getting involved at 92. Cabral de Matan for the Skeltons, and he's been a revolution since joining the Skeltons from Paul Nichols. Won really impressively at the Haydock first time, and then won the Real Keel as well very nicely. Both races over 2.5 miles though. The question is, will he stay the 3 miles, or is this a bit of an afterthought? Because they were potentially going to go National Spirit at Fontwell before going to Aintree for the Aintree Hurdle, but they've now decided to come here instead. I'm not sure. It's a case of, will he stay 3 miles? Well, I think if it turns into a sprint, then he's got a chance, and if they go slow and it turns into a sprint, he's got a chance. But here's another question mark. Bob Olinger at 6 to 1. He's now 11. Won the race last year under a very good ride from Rachel Blackmore. Take nothing away from that. She gave an absolute peach of a ride to beat Tehupu. Because he was a suspect there and stayed on really nicely that day just because of the way she rid him. Obviously, the ground's coming in his favour. We've not had a lot of rain here for the last few days, so the ground's going to be turning in Bob's favour at the present and away from Tehupu. Could you back him at 6 to 1? He's probably the muggy each way at the moment at 6 to 1. He really is, because you know if he gets his ground, he's going to run his race. And 6 to 1 could be. He's definitely been primed for the day. Henry will have him primed, and he had the one run this year at Leopardstown where he was second. he's definitely going to be primed for this. And obviously he's 4 from 4 around Cheltenham currently. And then the last one to touch on is Marchand 2, who's been a revelation this year for Emma Lavelle, winning a Pertemps qualifier at the start of the season before blowing up at Haydock, really. He went off short price favourite for the big handicap there and blew up, but then has won twice again at Cheltenham since, including Trials Day, where beating Impostoir by 7 lengths. I know he got £6 that day, but he was very impressive pulling away from Impostoir that day. He's the likely pace angle, I think, Marchand 2, and could be that he gets a neat soft lead and could do what Florian Porter's done in the past and just not be lit for passing. Obviously, Cold Harden was another one that made a lot of the running and then wasn't for passing. Potentially, at the moment, I haven't got anything at bigger prices that I'd like to get involved in. The two that I probably would back, Bob Ollinger and Marchand 2 each way. I just think there's question marks about the others, unless Teahupoo has been there and done that. Is he going to be suspect the one though? Honestly, Policy only seen once, and Cabral the Martin, does he stay 3 miles? So yeah, I probably would back Bob Ollinger and Marchand 2 each way at this stage, but we'll see on Tuesday when the declarations are fully out where we're at. And then moving on to another mess of a race, and this is probably the reason why many people are saying that the Ryanair should not be there. And this is why, because it's ridiculous, this betting. Who's going to show up? You got Factor File in there at 4 to 6, Gaelic Warrior 6 to 4, John Ball 11 to 2, Heartwood 6 to 1, Django Bay 7 to 1, Romeo Coolio 7 to 1. Along with Impere Pass, and then Ilete Tomps 10 to 1, 16 to 1 bar. Factor File, very impressive in the Irish Gold Cup last time out. Will he be supplemented for the Gold Cup? Or will he come here? I think, on my eyes, I think he'll still come here. I think if the vibes are right about, I know the way you're thinking, that JP is going to want to win this race, and obviously Factor File is his number 1 for that. I think he'll come here, in which case that means that Gaelic Warrior will go to the Gold Cup, unless Willie wants to run both of them in the Ryanair, because then Paul gets a ride on Gaelic Warrior, because obviously he won't get off Gallop and Deschamps in the Gold Cup. But I would have thought if Factor File was to go to the Ryanair, come here to the Ryanair, then Gaelic Warrior would go Gold Cup. Obviously, they reverse fortunes with Gaelic Warrior winning the Durkin over 2.5, beating Factor File. And then obviously was second in the Irish Gold Cup to him with the King George third in between. So on John Durkin form, you'd like to think if Gaelic Warrior was to come here and face Factor File, then he'd beat him again, but we shall see where he ends up. John Bond, he's second in the Slur and second in the Tingle Creek. Was then won the Claret's House before stepping up in trip in the Ascot Chase to win that as well, beating Victory. Is he set for entry, or is he going to now come here? Just depends whether Willie Mullins runs Factor File. JP doesn't have a representative. It's up in the air. It's an absolute mess. Heartwood will definitely run 6 to 1, second in the race last year. Definitely going to run here. Django Bay is 7 to 1. He's favourite for the Gold Cup. Surely he's going Gold Cup. Romeo Coolio is everywhere. He's in Arkle, Brown Advisory. He's in here. He may even skip this and go to Fairy House. 7 to 1. You can have that. And Pere Pass has seen once this season, and they're saying the Mellin Chase is the whole race that's on the mind for him. He's currently looking at this. He'd be Mullins' third string. He'd be interested if he did come here, but whether he comes here is no factor. And then Ilete Tom up in trip to 10 to 1. Again, another one for Mullins. Won the Tingle Creek, won while the Clonmel Oil fell in the Claret's House. It's an absolute mess. I'm on Factor File anti-post at 4 to 1. Not in my anti-post series, unfortunately. I'm back to before the anti-post series started. But I think he will come here, and I think he will go off a very, very short price favourite, because I don't think Gaelic Warrior, John Bond, or Django Bay, or Romeo Coolio, or Imperial Pass will turn up. And or Letty Tom, but I think the only one that will turn up against that will be Hartwood. You could easily be muggy each way on Hartwood now, because we all run. But yeah, I think Factifile will come here. He will win. He'll be short, 1-3, 1-4, something like that, and he will just win. Moving on to the Patemps, we've got 2 races to go. The Patemps over 3 miles, Supremely West, 9-2 favourite. The Wise Guy horse for handicaps, he's been absolutely found like nobody's business now at 9-2. Plenty I know that are on at decent prices, fair play to you. Celeste Disverance for Sam Thomas, 9-1. Manila Emperor and Electric Mason at 10s with Imposed Trois. Ace of Spades, 12-1, and then 14-1 Bar. Like I said, Supremely West, well found, obviously finished 3rd behind Marchand 2 at the October meeting in the Patemps qualifier. Was then 5th in another Patemps qualifier at Cheltenham in November. Was 4th at Sandown, before then finishing 6th at Aintree over 2 miles 4. Obviously subject to very interesting rides. The 3 after he was qualified, obviously dropped in the handicap from 137 to 135. Definitely a scout and plot job, and see what happens, but I would not be going in at 9-2 now. I know there's plenty that are on. Fair play if you're on at bigger prices, but that wouldn't be for me at 9-2. Celeste de France won at Market Raisin at Newbury. He's won really nicely both times, but horses that win Patemps qualifiers don't win the final. It's been said since. He could probably run his race well, but he won't be winning for me off a mark of 131. Manila Emperor off 130, second to Espresso Milan on novice debut, before then finishing second in a qualifier at Haydock. Interestingly, Donna Myler rode him in the Haydock race. He will not ride him, however, in the final, as the owner, Michael John O'Neill, will ride him, because he's rode him every other times apart from the Haydock race where he was qualified. Next in, Electric Mason off 139, was second in that October race behind Marchand 2, before going to win the Haydock Big Handicap when Marchand 2 flopped that day. He won that really nicely off a mark of 139. He could go close and could be an interesting one to look at. Imposed Trois off a mark of 159 now. This is one that I tweeted about this a couple of weeks ago. It will interest me now to see where he ends up, because he's in the stairs. Obviously JP's got honesty policy in there. Could he do what he's done with Side de Burley in the past and run one of these off top weight? He's second in the Coral Cup last year. He won the Aintree qualifier Imposed Trois, which I've said winners of qualifiers don't go well, so that could be against him. Obviously then he's won Newbury, Long Walk. He's then second in Trials Day to Marchand 2. He is interesting if he comes here that the only 2 factors against him are the weight. He'd have to give a lot of weight away, and he's obviously won a qualifier as well, which is not good, but it'd be very interesting if they were to send him here and not send him to the stairs. He would definitely be the class angle in the race. And the last one to touch on, I've got a couple more. Ace of Spades won at Aintree, was then 4th behind Electric Mason at Haydock, second to Marchand 2 on New Year's Day, and then won a qualifier again, another one to win a qualifier at Huntington. So I'd be ruling him out as well. And I heard a press morning that Dan Skelton, when asked about Ace of Spades, said he's not Supremely West. So clearly we know who's the number 1 in that yard. 2 that I am going to mention that I think will be bigger prices that potentially could take some winning on the 20s and 16s respectively. Manila 6-0 for Gordon Elliott, second in the last qualifier at Leopardstown, behind Melbourne Shamrock. Obviously I was all over him for the Martin Pipe last year. I think they were trying to get him qualified for the Patemps, and he fell when going well at Haydock in their qualifier last year. So they then had to reroute him to the Martin Pipe, and I don't think he stayed. I don't think he got outpaced, to be honest. And I think 3 miles would definitely suit him more. And at 20 to 1 off a mark of 137, he's interesting. And then the other one I tweeted about, God knows, I mentioned him. She was in the Cleve, which brought me into mind that she ran at Doncaster rather than running the Cleve. It's La Vida Avida for Ruth Jefferson. For a mark of 133, was qualified when 4th to Celed de Ville at Market Raisin, was then 4th to Feet of a Dancer at Doncaster, and then was 3rd to Ludor at Haydock. But this horse has won decent handicaps in the past, won at Kelso, decent handicap not too long ago. 16 to 1 now. You could have got, a couple of weeks ago, you could have got 50 to 1 on this horse. It was on my radar at 50, so I didn't put it up on my anti-post video. And I feel really bad now because then Kevin Blake's come out and mentioned it, and then all of a sudden the price just absolutely disappeared. But she will certainly interest me. So those are the two that would interest me at the moment, would be Manila 6-0 and La Vida. Vida, obviously, Impose Trois. If that's the run here, then again, that'd be another one. But be on my short list. And then finally, the Kim Muir. For amateur riders over the staying trip. Jericho de Repene 4 to 1. Waterford Whispers 9 to 2. You Have Me in Stitches 8 to 1. All owned by JP McManus. Plenty of plot jobs in there. And then Jarry de Rest at 12 to 1 for the French, for Emmett Mullins, sorry. Hercules Westwood and Kim Rock at 12, also at 12 to 1, 14 to 1 bar. Jericho de Rapine 4 to 1. Not a hell am I getting involved in this. I put him up as a novice chaser to follow last season, and he had all his antics at Sandown. Was then sent back over hurdles, did alright over hurdles, finishing 2nd of attempts and at Punchestown. Since come back this year, he's 2nd at Kempton behind Jacks Jr. Was 2nd in that match race to Regent Stroll, where he was never put in the race, and then was 5th to Salver at Windsor, again, where he was never put in the race. The British handicap has given him 145, which JP probably thought it was Christmas when he gave him that. He's now been back to the 4-1 favourite. Hate to think what price he's going to go off if Derek O'Connor is booked, but this is just couldn't have it. Just could not have it at 4-1. Waterford Whispers is next in at off 137. 3rd to Backmill Sackme at the DRF. They was trying to get him qualified last year. I know he's in a few other. I mentioned him for the. I think it was the plate. I mentioned him for a couple of videos ago. If he comes here, he could be of interest. Was 2nd in the Martin Pipe a couple of years ago. You Have Me in Stitches. Wexford 3rd to the Big Westerner and Dino Blue recently. Just a case of, is he going to come over? And off a mark of 130, or could he potentially be staying in Ireland for a big pot over there, potentially to go at the Irish National? Javiv de Dest for Emmett Mullins. Now surely this is an afterthought off a mark of 126. He's running 2 cross-country races. Has run okay in both of those, but because of the way the handicap system works, he can't get in the cross-country. He's too low down. So then they're trying to run him here off a mark of 126. Couldn't be for me. Hercules Westwood has run all season at this over the course, winning twice. Finishing 2nd twice in November, December before getting off the mark on New Year's Day. 137. He could be interesting. He's got, like I said, plenty of course form there. And then Kim Rock was off a mark of 131. Was 2nd in November behind Kilevex de Sol, I believe that is, or Kilevex de Say, one of the two. 4th in the December Gold Cup behind Glenn Gooley before finishing 5th behind Backmill Sackme. He's got 4 lengths to find with Waterford Whispers. Again, another one of interest, and I know plenty of other people have put him up on podcasts of one to follow for Joseph O'Brien. Those Waterford Whispers would be the one that would interest me. There's 3 others at bigger prices that I've also got my eye on if they get declared. The first one is the Enabler off 140. Now, wherever this horse goes, surely he's got a chance in a handicap wherever he goes. Third to Kits Bual on debut over fences. He was then 1 at Fairyhouse. 4th behind Capisha Pike at Punchestown. And then was 3rd behind Argento Boy at Nace last time when given an interesting ride, not to get anywhere near Argento Boy. So he gets the mark of 140. Obviously, Argento Boy, they were trying to get him in the National Chase, but his mark was blown in that race. But the Enabler is off 140 after giving a very tender ride after the last. Patter Merchant is another one at 20-1, again for the Elliott stable off 134. Again, he's another one that's ran down the field in some decent races. Ran behind Romeo Coolio and Dan Royal, and behind Cocktail Divan at Leopardstown. Was 11th last time seen in first time handicap over fences in the Grand National trial. Now, I'm not sure whether he'll come here or whether he'll be saved potentially for the Irish National, but off 20-1 off 134 he could be interesting. And the last one is Deep Cave for Christian Williams, obviously 33-1 off a mark of 140. He's won at Bangor and Ascot this season, and then but has been quite disappointing the last twice, finishing 5th at Doncaster and then 10th in the Racing Post Trophy. I believe it was called something else now. The Kempton race that Lookaway won a couple of weeks ago. Was 10th that day. Could be interesting if he comes here off a mark of 140. But it's a very competitive handicap. Probably the Waterford Whisperers and the Enabler, the two that I'm keeping my close eye on. If the Enabler gets declared for here, that will be my selection, but we shall see. And that is day 3. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and happy punting to you all.